guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to show you how you can become a better player in World of Tanks with trading positively. If you're interested in more reviews and gameplay, go to YouTube and search for World of Tanks with Bruce to get all of my videos, or click on the subscribe button. And now let's go. First of all, by watching this video, you once again have a chance of winning a tier 6 premium tank. More to this at the end of the video. Now, trading positively is a key element for winning battles in World of Tanks. After all, if your team can cause more damage to the enemy team than vice versa, you will win the game. If you in particular can deal more damage than you receive, you will at least be a significant help for your team to achieve a victory. But the thing is, trading positively is not a given. This is why I summed up everything you need to know in order to trade positively. After this video, you will know everything you need to know in order to outtrade your opponents. The rest is nothing but practice. I divided this tutorial in 3 major parts. Number 1 is gun employment, so using the benefits of your gun to the max extent to outtrade your opponents. Number 2 is armor, using your armor to block enemy shots and thus lowering the effective DPM of your opponents. And number 3 is game mechanics, so using special tips and tricks in order to deal damage to enemy tanks while not receiving any damage in return. So how can you trade positively? Firepower. So the most simple way to trade positively is to sit in a tank which has the higher alpha damage. So in this case I play the E75 with 530 alpha damage, and I trade against the 122 TM which has 400 alpha damage. So if we trade 1v1, then this is a positive trade for me. So in this case I take a shot, 521, he can make one return, and I receive 410 damage. So keep in mind that this only works if you have the possibility to fall back into cover, because otherwise you will take an additional shot and you will not trade positively. So this only works if you have the chance to fall back into cover. The next possibility to trade positively is to out DPM your opponent. So this works if you're sitting in a tank with the higher DPM. So in this situation, keep in mind that the Pershing does not have the chance to fall back into cover. So what matters now is not the higher alpha damage, but the higher DPM. Obviously in this situation, the Pershing, the tier 8 tank, had already lost a chunk of its HP, which helped me out. But besides this, the higher DPM wins this battle if none of the tanks have the chance to fall back into cover. And so in this situation, if my tank, for example the tier 7 Panther M10, has the higher DPM, then I can trade positively just by using my higher DPM. Of course, those two options are not very smart per se, because no matter if you use your higher alpha damage or the DPM, you will get shot by the adversary tanks, and so you will also lose your HP. So it makes sense if you have the chance to use the reload time of the adversary tank. And this is what I'm trying in this situation. So I want to wait until the adversary tanks have taken a shot, and then I want to use the reload time of those tanks. So let me see. So here we go, I take one shot and I can take them out, and now let's see how it goes. So the KB2 has now taken a shot, and so now it is time for me to move out. The heavy tank number 6 is moving out. He has now taken a shot, so now I can once again move out and take a shot, and those shots are for free because I use the reload time of the adversary tanks in order to make damage for free in those situations. Now, using the reload time of your opponent works best in an autoloader tank. Why? Because during this period where you have your clip available, you have an outstanding DPM, and your DPM is much better in this period of time compared to all single shot tanks. And so what you can do is you can simply wait until the adversary tank has shot, and once he has shot, you can then use your clip in order to make those shots. So the E100 has taken a shot, and now I can try to empty my clip. In this situation, unfortunately, I bounced both my shots, but I think I made the point in using the clip during the reload time of the adversary tank. Now, if your clip is bigger, i.e. if you have more shots in your magazine, or if your intra-clip reload time is bigger, then this means that you will maybe not get one shot in return, but maybe two. So in this situation, I'm emptying my whole clip and I receive two shots of the enemy tank. Nonetheless, I'm able to clip him out with my full magazine, and so I do have an advantage. I am trading positively. However, I get two shots in return instead of only one. So in order to not lose any HP, you should use the reload time of your adversary, but only use your autoloader to make 1, 2, maybe 3 shots so that you do not lose any HP. And so I'm turning around in this situation. Yes, I was a little bit lucky, but I only made 2 shots, so not to receive any damage from the T-3485. Here I'm fighting against the Jagdpanzer IV, and I catch him by surprise. I make 1 shot. Now his attention is all on me. He's turning around. This gives me the chance for another shot, but I fall back into cover before he can hit me, so I only make 2 shots instead of my full clip. But this means that I do not take damage, which is very important, and this is, in my opinion, how you should use autoloaders. One additional thing to mention: if you did not catch your opposing tank by surprise, and if you receive a damage, then use the second reload time of the adversary tank to then get free damage on the opposing tanks. So in this situation, unfortunately, the VZ44 is looking towards me. He took a shot, but this gives me an additional reload time, an additional single shot reload time of this tank in order to empty my clip. So if this happens, then go ahead, take this 1 shot, but then you have the second chance of dealing free damage to the adversary tank. Armor. A very easy method of using your armor to effectively outtrade your opponents is to side scrape. So I'm playing with the VK3601H, and in this situation I'm angling my tank. So how does side scraping work? So in order to side scrape, you simply angle your tank to create a ricochet angle, and you can use tanks GG in order to see it. So with angling my tank, in this case, I am increasing the effective armor and I'm creating a ricochet angle. So that means that the opposing tank does not have the chance to penetrate the side of my tank now, or the side of my hull, I should say. Now this obviously depends on not only the angle, but also on the thickness of your side armor. But keep in mind, if the caliber of the opposing tank is more than 3 times bigger than your armor of your side hull, then this means that you will get overmatched and you will get penetrated no matter how good you angle your tank. You should not over angle your tank, because then your armor becomes weak again. But if you create this perfect angle, then that means that the area where you can get penetrated will be significantly reduced. So in this example, I can only be penetrated here, and then on my weak spot on my cupola, and then maybe on my gun mantlet, at least where it is relatively weak. So this is how side scraping works. So in this situation, I'm angling my tank so that the adversary tank is unable to penetrate my side, and I'm basically only showing the left hand side of my turret with my relatively strong gun mantlet. And so the adversary tank is unable of penetrating my armor. I am able of taking shots, and so I'm able to outrate my opponent. If you're playing in a tank where the turret is mounted on the forward portion of the hull, then you can conduct a reverse side scraping. So you turn around your tank like this, and then you side scrape, and this means that you optimize the position of your turret for the respective corner. And you can also kind of side scrape, but you simply improve the position of the turret of your tank, and you can hide the rear of your tank. Now this is super important, but if you angle your tank like this, then as you can see, the T10 does not have a chance of penetrating us. And we can basically conduct side scraping and turn around the weakness of the tank into a strength. So what do I mean by turning the weakness into a strength? So if we take a look at the 53 TP, like this is the perfect side scraping angle, but no matter how good you angle your tank, let's say this, so the left hand side from here on would be covered behind a wall. No matter how good you angle your tank, this portion of the tank would always be a huge weak spot. So this is a problem of tanks where the turret is mounted in the forward portion of the tank. And so in this case, you can simply reverse side scrape, turn around your tank like this, and then effectively increase the, like this for example, and then effectively increase the area where the enemy can basically penetrate a weak spot, so where you are showing a weak spot of your tank. Now, side scraping also works perfectly fine for tanks which have a pike nose. So, for example, for a lot of Russian heavy tanks. Besides this, the IS-32 is also a tank where the turret is mounted at the forward portion, and so side scraping works perfectly fine for this tank. As you can see, the E-75 is unable to penetrate us, and we can then now simply get a shot on him. Not in this situation, but you know what I mean. So we bounce all the shots because we don't give the opposing tank the chance to penetrate our side armor. Another option to trade positively in your heavy tank is to play hull down. Now, hull down means that you simply hide your hull behind cover, maybe behind a ridgeline or maybe behind a wall like this, and you only show your turret. So even if you have a tank which has very weak hull armor, so like the IS-32 for example, then you can outtrade opponent tanks because they will not have the chance to penetrate you. So in this situation, I'm hiding my hull behind the wall and I'm only showing my turret, and you can really see how the T-832 is trying to aim at a weak spot, but I'm only showing maybe the very, very small and tiny cupola of my tank, but that's all, and he cannot penetrate the strong armor of my turret. So playing hull down is a very easy method of effectively reducing the opponent DPM, because the adversary tank will be unable to penetrate you because you hide the hull of your tank. Some tanks, like the Tier 9 Italian WoT 66, have a relatively weak upper hull armor. So as you can see, 230, 220 millimeter of armor. But this armor becomes stronger if you angle your tank. So if you, for example, play on a ridgeline, thus you can increase your armor significantly. So in this case, 340, 300, about 300 to 350 millimeters of armor. So if you can play on a ridgeline, then the principle of playing hull down also works. Or if you, for example, play on the upper ground compared to or versus opponents which are playing on the lower ground. So due to the fact that I'm playing on the upper ground in this scenario, in this situation right here, my effective armor on my upper hull becomes significantly stronger, and it is much harder for the opposing tank to penetrate because there's only my lower hull which can be penetrated. So the adversary WoT 66 is coming around the corner, but I'm on the upper hull, as I said. And now I cannot even be penetrated, but of course I can penetrate the upper hull of the adversary WoT 66 because he does not have this advantage because he's playing on the lower ground. The easiest way of playing hull down is if you play a tank like the Mark II, the tier 9 Italian tank destroyer, which has an overall strong frontal armor. In this case, you simply go to a somewhat hull down position and then you can simply shred your opponents, and you will not get penetrated due to your overall strong frontal armor. Same applies for a tank like the Super Persian with its overall strong frontal armor. Though in this situation, I don't even hide my lower hull, and the UDAS is unable of penetrating it due to the fact that it's overall relatively strong. Yes, it does have some weak spots, but if the distance between you and the adversary tank is huge enough, then this is not a problem. Another possibility to use your armor in order to trade positively against your opponents is to effectively angle your armor. So let's take a look at the armor of the AMX M451. This tank has an overall strong frontal armor, maybe besides the lower portion of your hull. But it does have those two side cheeks, so what you can do either to further increase the frontal upper hull, the armor of the frontal upper hull, or to increase the armor, the effective armor of the lower hull, is you can angle your tank like this. So as you can see, the armor is effectively increased, but this side cheek or side shoulder becomes a weak spot, and so what you can do is you can move around a corner and simply hide this portion of the tank so that you only show your frontal armor, your basically middle frontal armor, and the other side cheek, but this armor is effectively increased while you are hiding this new weak spot. So in this situation against the tortoise, I am angling this tank, thus increasing the effective armor of my frontal upper and also lower hull, but actually I'm hiding my lower hull in this situation. I'm not showing the effectively decreased armor of the left shoulder, and I am also increasing, due to the angling, increasing the armor of the right shoulder of my frontal armor. And so this is how I effectively angle my tank in order to increase the effective armor overall, but then hiding the weak spot that is getting decreased once I angle my tank. Another option to trade positively with using your armor is to face hug. So in this situation, I'm finishing off the WoT 46 like this. Here we go. And now I'm moving towards the T32. And you should use the face hug method if you want to hide, for example, your lower hull, or if you're playing in a tank which is just taller than your adversary tank, because then he has to shoot from the lower ground, so to speak, to the upper ground, which gives you an advantage and which denies him the possibility of penetrating your tank. Outplaying adversaries. Now, if this all does not help, and if you're playing a tank which has an overall weak armor, or if your firepower is lackluster, so if you cannot, for example, simply outrate your opponent with your DPM or your high alpha damage, then you have to play smart and outplay your adversary tanks. And what you can do is you can simply try to hide as much of your tank as possible and simply move out with the little tiny portion of your tank. So in this situation, I'm playing with the Britannia Panzer, and I'm only showing, let's say, the gun and the upper portion of my turret, and so that for the enemy tanks it is hard to hit my tank. So this is a way, or this is a method of, let's say, effectively increasing the chance of not getting hit and thus penetrated by the adversary tanks. In this situation, I get attacked by the American medium tank, but I get the chance to take him out, and now I can use this rack as cover against the approaching adversary tanks, and so I can once again effectively reduce the area which can be penetrated by the adversary tanks because I have no armor whatsoever, and so the only chance I can do, how I can outplay the opponents is by hiding behind the wreck and only show a minimum portion of my tank so that I do not get hit by those adversary tanks. Another option to outplay your opponents is to use the spotting mechanics in World of Tanks, i.e. to use bushes. So if bushes are not transparent, like in this situation, and if you shoot, you will not get spotted. If the bush, on the other hand, is transparent and you shoot, then you will get spotted. So what you can do is you can drive into the bush in order to spot the adversary tanks, and then if you fall back 50 meters so that the bush is not transparent anymore, just like I do in this situation, then you will not get spotted once you shoot. And so you will once again not be spotted, and so the adversary tanks will not have the chance to focus you and to take a shot to your position. And so this is what I'm doing here. I'm always trying to get a shot. For example, in this situation on the 279E, I'm falling back for the shot so that the bush is not transparent, and then if I have the need to respot the adversary tanks, then I simply move forward and spot them again. Another example can be seen here. So I'm playing in a light tank, the LTTB. I spot the Vipera, the tier 8 Italian premium tank destroyer, but before I take a shot I fall back behind the bush so that it is not transparent, and I try to take a shot. Unfortunately, this is not a penetration, but this way I do not get spotted and I can take damage for free against my opposing tanks. Another thing to mention is the so-called double bush mechanics. So notice that the bush where I am currently positioned is not transparent, but there's a second bush between me and the VK3601H, and this means that I will not get spotted as well, due to the fact that I'm using this so-called double bush mechanic. So whenever there's a second bush between you and the adversary tank, this means that you will also not get spotted. Another way to trade positively against the adversary tanks is to use the view range circles that are depicted on the minimap. So let's make the minimap a little bit bigger. So notice that the object 140 is between the render range circle in yellow and the view range circle in white, and so as long as he is spotted, I can take shots onto this tank, but he will not be able to spot me because he is out of the view range circle, or I'm out of the view range circle for him. And so all this damage that I'm taking on his tank is basically for free. So I'm trading positively and there's no chance that he can penetrate me. Another way to outplay your adversaries is to bait a shot. So in order to bait a shot, what you want to do is you want to move out of cover very quickly and only show a little portion of your tank so that you pretend that you would move fully out of cover. So the adversary tank player takes a shot, you fall back so you do not get hit, and then you have the option of using the reload time of the adversary tank in order to get a shot for free and in order to not lose any HP. I'm trying this here in the situation against the Easy 8. It doesn't work too well, but let me show you a good example of how this works. So in this situation I'm playing with the M6 and I am soon fighting against the KV2. There he is. I fall back into cover. Now as I am behind cover and he is not, he has the first shot opportunity, and that is bad for me. So I pretend that I would move out of cover like so, instantaneously fall back, he takes a shot, and now I can use his reload. So he is now falling back into cover because he's a good player, but this has now changed the situation, and so now I have the first shot opportunity, and as soon as he peeks out I can take a shot and get damage for free. So this is how you can bait a shot to your to the adversary tank and not lose any HP and change the situation and get free damage, or even get the first shot opportunity like in this situation. Another option to trade positively is to catch your adversary tanks by surprise. This works best in medium or in a light tank because you have the mobility to flank your opponents. And so I use the Super Pershing to basically make a risky move in this game. So now I am spotted, but as you can see, I catch the IS-6 by surprise, and with moving out of cover a little bit further, I at least get the first shot for free. A much smarter flanking move can be seen here, so I use the mobility of the Shah MLE 75 in order to fall into the back or into the rear of the AE phase 1. I catch him by surprise and I can take him out. Unfortunately, it's only 50 damage for free for me, but once again, I catch him by surprise, I can take him out, and this is the power of a flanking move. In order to outplay your opponents, you can also try to blind fire the last known position. And with blind firing, I do not mean to take a random shot like this, but I mean to consciously blind fire a certain position. So in this case, as you can see, the Kunze-Panzer has been spotted. You can see him on the minimap. And so I try to put my line of fire on the minimap towards this position. Then I raise my gun to be slightly or to aim slightly above the horizon, and then I blind fire this position. So this is how you conduct blind firing, once again, to the last known enemy position. Same situation, those heavy tanks are spotted in the middle, however they are outside my render range circle, so I cannot see them. They will not be displayed for me. So I put my line of fire over the enemy position, I elevate my gun, and then I shoot just above the horizon, and I hit the Emil 1951 just by conducting this kind of blind fire. And finally, if you get pushed by an adversary tank, you can always try to track the tank so that he does not have the chance of pushing you, maybe due to a lack of gun depression, like in this situation. So I tracked the tier 8 German tank destroyer. He could not get a shot towards me, and so my teammate could finish him off. So next situation, another Ferdinand approaching my position, and I can now take a shot towards him. Now he will have reloaded, so he will once again push me, and now I want to track him once again so that he cannot take a shot towards me. So here you go, I track him, and so he cannot take a shot to me, and then I will simply try to do this one more time. Unfortunately, the reload time is insufficient, and so he can take me out, but tracking adversaries is always a good opportunity. So those were all my tips and tricks in order to trade positively and to outtrade your adversaries. Keep in mind, this is what differentiates the average player to the above average player and to the unicum. The above average player always tries to preserve its HP and to trade positively in the best way he can, so not to lose any HP, so that he has the chance to consciously trade its HP at the end of the game when it is necessary. The average player loses HP throughout the game and does not have the chance to consciously trade its HP at the end of the game. So I hope that those tips and tricks help you to make better trades in the future in World of Tanks, so that you can outtrade your opponents and that you will more often than not be in a situation at the end of the game where you can consciously trade your HP. Alright guys, that was it for today with the tutorial on how to trade positively. What do you think about this topic? Do you think it is easy to outtrade your opponents? Or did you have problems doing so far in World of Tanks? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Consider subscribing to my channel. And now let's talk about how to win a free tier 6 premium tank. First of all the terms and conditions of this little tank tombola I explained in the video description down below. What do you need to do? You need to write a comment in the comment section down below and tell me your in-game name as well as the server you are playing on. So in my example it would be Bruce and European server. And maybe something else, you know, something funny or maybe something helpful for the other viewers. There's a certain time limit which is also written in the video description, so don't wait too long because at some point the tombola ends and the winner will be announced. The winner will be able to pick a tier 6 premium tank out of the World of Tanks store, and I will finance this tank via PayPal. Once again, check out the video description and see you next time in another World of Tanks video.